All right, that makes us move over to the flyweight division now as we have a rematch between Alexa Grasso, who comes in at plus 145. She goes up against Macy Barber, who comes in at minus 170. Now, Grasso has that Shevchenko rivalry firmly in her rearview mirror. We saw, obviously, the big submission win she was able to get after Shevchenko made a mistake with her spinning attacks. Then we saw a draw in their rematch, which really didn't make any sense. I think everybody had that fight scored for Shevchenko, but one wayward scorecard that gave Grasso a 10-8 in the final round, which made no sense at all. Caused that fight to be scored a draw. And then we got the third fight at Noche UFC, and we saw the clean grappling of Shevchenko keep Grasso on her back and easily grind that fight out. Grasso tried bouncing back a few months later against Natalia Silva, but Silva was able to sweep Grasso on the cards. It was a tough stylistic matchup for Grasso. We saw her try to get a few takedown attempts, didn't really work out for her. We know Silva's style is very frustrating and hard to deal with, and Grasso just couldn't really get to her game. She's strong in the clinch at times, as we saw the first time she beat Macy Barber. Her BJJ has significantly improved throughout her career, hence that submission win against Valentina Shevchenko. But I think at her best, she's a solid technical striker with good combinations, good footwork, and good volume and output at times. It's just the defensive grappling that has gotten her in trouble, obviously, against a very strong fighter like Shevchenko, and then obviously the mobile distance striking style of Natalia Silva. I think that's kind of given people a bad perception of Alexa Grasso. I think now with her fighting different stylistic matchups, we'll start to see why she got that title shot in the first place and why she was, I think she was like a very slight favorite against Macy Barber the first time they threw down. But we're going to see solid improvements from both women here and see who's better at this stage of their career. Now, talking about Macy Barber, her last loss was actually to Alexa Grasso. Now she's coming back, 7-fight winning streak. Her last win over Karine Silva. She was scheduled to fight earlier in 2025 as well against Erin Blanchfield in a main event. She missed weight for that fight. And then on fight day, mere minutes before she was supposed to walk out, she had some sort of health episode, and that caused the fight to be canceled. Very weird circumstance. I remember that one playing out. Very, very weird. But Barber has really grown into this physique of hers. She's strong. She's capable. She was very strong earlier in her career as well, and that's what led to a lot of her wins. Her striking was very difficult to deal with. She had a lot of power for women's standard at the time, but her ability to land damage, her control in the clinch, that's all been a very good part of her game. The Caitlin Sermonara fight, that was one where I thought Sermonara would be able to pick apart Barber from distance, but Sermonara willingly engaged in the clinch with Barber time and time again, and Barber always reversed it and got off on better damage to win that fight on the scorecards. Barber's talented. She's good. She's still 27 years old. She's still quite young, but I think this fight will be a good indication of seeing how much improvement she's actually made and if she's ready to actually fight for a title in her next fight. Solid striking, good grappling, but now it really comes to show whether she has what it takes to fight for a title, like I said. So the first fight when these two threw down back in February of 2021, Barber was coming off of her first pro loss at the hands of Roxanne Modafferi. I think that's the fight that she suffered a significant injury as well. And then Grasso was coming off of a win over Ji Yoon Kim. Grasso was a minus 125 favorite that night. I ended up betting her that night and was successful with it. And most of that fight primarily took place in the clinch, and I thought Grasso was the one having more success in the first 2 rounds. Grasso also landed some good shots and threatened with a few submissions, and then in the final round, Barber started getting off on more damage in the striking game, but by then it was just a little bit too late. Since then, Barber is 7-0. Grasso is 3-2-1 with those losses and draw coming to Shevchenko. But I still believe that Grasso is capable of high-level performances. I think we'll see her outstrike Barber here. I think she'll end up landing better combinations. I expect this fight to play out close, just like the first fight did. And I think the only reason the odds are as wide as they are right now is because of the recent momentum of both women. When you see Barber undefeated since her last fight and Grasso, coming off a few losses, and obviously the perception of her having no grappling defense, I think is working into the favor of people looking to take that underdog shot on Grasso. That's where I'm kind of leaning here. Even if this fight was a pick'em, I think I'd still lean on the Grasso side. I think she is the slicker and more efficient striker. What I'm curious about is how much success Barber could have in the grappling and clinch game, considering that's probably where she's made her most improvements since the last time they threw down. But I'm still going to lean Grasso here. I think she'll end up getting more control. I think we'll see her land more damage, land the more effective shots in the striking game. And I think that should lead to Grasso winning this fight on the scorecards. Very close fight. Very, very close fight. Seems like the public is on the Barber side of things. I'm going to go opposite here. I'm going to go Grasso and Grasso by decision.